Is the writing on the wall for big Ange Postecoglou? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Today's video is going to centre around Tottenham Hotspur and their head coach Ange Postecoglou in the aftermath of yesterday's defeat at the hands of Everton. The Toffees picked up their first victory since the return of David Moyes to Goodison Park in a 3-2 victory against Ange Postecoglou's side yesterday. A performance that was brilliant, a scoreline that may actually seem a lot closer than what the actual match would perceive it to be. It's left a lot of Tottenham fans angry, even more angry than they were before, even more frustrated, and more seem to be turning against their head coach at this current moment in time. So the big question is, are you Ange in? Are you Ange out? That is what we're going to be talking about in this video. We're going to look over yesterday's result. We're going to be talking about the season as it has been so far and much more, I'm sure. But before we get into all of that, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you are new. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. Get involved in the comment section as well. Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, that I'm sure will make for great and interesting reading down below in that comment section. So please do use and abuse that section and talk to me, people, on this big, very divisive and opinionated subject of Ange Postecoglou. Do you think his time is up at Tottenham? Should he stay? Should he walk out himself? Or will he get the sack? I'd love to know what you guys are thinking and feeling about all of that kind of stuff. Right, now that that's out of the way and done with, let's talk Tottenham, let's talk Ange Postecoglou and everything else in between. Look, first and foremost, I just want to say, in my Premier League predictions video, I did actually predict Tottenham to win. What the hell was I thinking? I should have known better. I should have known better. An Everton side coming into this game in poor form. An Everton side who are the second lowest goal scorers in the division, coming up against a Tottenham side who are coming into this game in poor form themselves. A ton of injuries. Poor form. Just genuinely poor in general. I should have known better. I should have known better than for an Everton side that were obviously going to take something from the game. Because even though both are inconsistent, even though both on their day can be very good, and I had no idea which kind of team was going to turn up from either of the two teams yesterday. Was it going to be good or bad from Everton? Was it going to be good or bad from Spurs? And so on and so forth. I should have known better. Even Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored, and he hadn't scored in like 16 or so Premier League games. He's on a 16 Premier League goal drought, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I genuinely think that was what I read yesterday. And he managed to score and actually looked like he was a decent Premier League striker in that game. That's just how poor Spurs were on the day. And look, the damage was done in the first half. 3 goals from Everton in that first half was just damage dealt. Damage dealt, damage done. There was no way back for Tottenham after that. In the second half, they grew into the game, but it only seemed that way because obviously Everton decided to shut up shop and take what they had done in the first half. Didn't need to overexert themselves. Just needed to kind of see the game out. And although Spurs got a couple of late goals back in the game, one was very well taken from Dejan Kulusevski, who, I will just say, Kulusevski, if you are watching, extremely unlikely you are, but if you are watching, I know a club in Merseyside, the red half of Merseyside that is, that would love to have you. Absolutely adore you and love to have you. I'm just throwing that out there for you, my friend. So, you know, just bear that in mind. He's been a bright light in an otherwise dark season for Spurs, no doubt about it. And he doesn't exactly deserve what is going on right now. But it is what it is at Spurs. That result yesterday, in what was a dreadful performance, leaves Tottenham with 24 points from 22 games. 7 wins, 3 draws, and 12 defeats. One less defeat than Wolves. The same amount of defeats as Ipswich. Only Leicester and Southampton, and of course Wolves, as I mentioned, have got more defeats this season than Tottenham. And this is a record, by the way, which stretches back even further beyond this season. Their win percentage has been dreadful for a long time now. Probably stretching back till after the opening stages of Ange Postecoglou's life at Tottenham Hotspur. Like, this has been dreadful since the end of November 2023. This has been very inconsistent, very up and down, poor performances, poor results. And there's only so far the injury crisis can take you as an excuse or as a reason for why they are poor before that excuse starts to run dry. Because they've had their strongest squad, or some of these strongest squads that they've had in the past couple of years under Postecoglou for certain games, and they've still lost. Earlier on this season, they had their strongest squad against Ipswich, their strongest squad against Crystal Palace, and yet they still handed those two teams their first wins of the season. They had their strongest squad against Brighton, and they threw away a 2-goal lead. The injury crisis I do feel sorry for, but I've also seen other teams this season go through injury crises. Brentford, they're still going fairly strong for a team of their calibre, with all due respect. Bournemouth, flying high right now, doing incredible under Andoni Iraola, but they have got a fair few injuries themselves, and even Everton yesterday had a fair few injuries as well. So the injury excuse doesn't hold much water anymore. It really, really doesn't. And I know people are starting to bring up injury records of Postecoglou when he was at Celtic. I know a lot of these players that are injured right now at Spurs, a few of them are hamstring, a few of them are ankle, a few of them are knee. But I would imagine they all have certain knock-on effects. The intensity that he tries to play with on the pitch, I can only imagine what the intensity is like off the pitch in terms of on the training ground. I wouldn't bet against those kind of injuries being knock-on effects from the intensity that he's trying to play with, the intensity he's trying to train with. And I'd love to know what he's kind of training, because they seem to be working on the same stuff each and every single week. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. This is what this guy is doing right now, it seems. He is showing very little flexibility, very little adaptability. And it's not working for him right now. There are the odd games where it will work. Of course it will, because of the quality that Spurs have. Not necessarily in terms of what's injured, but in terms of who's there, especially within the midfield area and the attacking third over the past several weeks. It will work occasionally. But overall, it's not working. And it's not working because he's not getting the best out of the squad that's there, and he's not changing with the squad that is there. When I look at that Tottenham first 11, it should have enough about them to win certain games this season that they clearly haven't. Should have had enough yesterday to win. But they haven't. When I look at their strongest squad, when you put all the injured players into the squad, they have a very good squad that can carry out Postecoglou's system. No doubt about it. But what makes a great manager, in my opinion, is the way that they can adapt to situations. I've seen Jurgen Klopp do it. When we won the title, the season after we won the title, we had an injury crisis that was mad. We had no centre-backs. We had no fit senior centre-backs. We had to bring in Ozan Kabak, of all people, in January. We had to promote Reece Williams and Nat Phillips to our senior squad. And we still managed to come third that season. We still managed to get in top 4 and third that season, despite having no centre-backs. And that's on top of other injuries and other players dropping in and out of the squad willy-nilly throughout the entire season. We still managed to finish third. Because we adapted, we changed. We had to modify and tweak a few things. Postecoglou doesn't do that. He looks at his squad, and despite the fact that he's having to force in a lot of these reserve players, a lot of these B squad players, he's going, we're still going to play the same way. It's who we are, mate. It doesn't quite work like that unless you have properly built a squad which can seamlessly transition, and you can go, right, Our squad depth is insane because we can bring in 5 players here and they'll just fit in and gel in, whether it be for 1 or 2 games or whether it be for a stretch of games over the course of a season. Tottenham don't have that. It's one of the things that I questioned about them at the beginning of the season. Were they going to have enough about them to go long into the season with a very weak depth in their squad? Very weak depth. They've got a few kids that look promising, no doubt about it, but they're not Premier League ready. They're not for the here and now. How long is that going to last? That was my biggest question for Spurs going into this season, and I have been proven right on that score. His failure to adapt is seemingly going to get him the sack, because it does seem like he is moving ever closer to that. It does genuinely seem like he's moving ever closer to the sack. It does seem like the writing is soon to be on the wall, and he is facing a losing battle right now. Because what I'm seeing with him, especially in press conferences, interviews, even on the touchline, is a manager that seems broken. A manager that doesn't have the same kind of smooth, charismatic, nice guy approach that he had when he first came into England. That's seemingly gone. Now he seems to be broken. Now he seems to be a bit depressed. Can't even look interviewers in the eye. Some of his answers that he's actually giving to certain interviewers are actually a bit snappy and a bit rude. I saw the one at the weekend where the interviewer basically starts off by saying this is becoming a familiar story, and he snaps at him, or I think it was him, and he snaps at him back like, great way to start an interview, that. Not the same level of happy, charismatic, optimistic, excitable kind of persona that he was giving when he first arrived at Tottenham. Mainly because things aren't going his way. And, you know, most managers are like that when things aren't going his way. But sometimes from those kind of answers, sometimes from that kind of body language, not even being able to look the interview or the camera in the eyes, you can kind of tell when someone's reaching the end. And he seems to be that guy. He seems to be that guy. And look, he's not entirely to blame, of course not. You can blame the players. You obviously have to blame the board. The board are abysmal. The board's decision making is terrible. We know that, even from the outside looking in. I know that, even as a Liverpool fan, I know that. I know there needs to be massive change there, but it's very unlikely that that change is going to happen, because Tottenham is a very big cow that is making a lot of money right now, and they are milking that cow for its money absolutely as dry as possible. And I understand why that is, because it's a big money-making business. Tottenham as a business is one of the best, but Tottenham as a football club is not. Tottenham is not a football club, it is a business. And the quicker that certain fans work that out, the quicker that they may be able to start hurting those kinds of people in power where it hurts, their wallets. If they can start doing that, maybe they will force change. But whilst you're in the stadiums, chanting Levy out is not going to drive him out. But not being in the stadiums, not watching the games live, not buying merchandise from the club shop, not buying the latest training gear, the latest shirts, the latest scarves, water bottles, all other kinds of crap that's got the Tottenham logo and all the kind of Tottenham players' faces plastered all over it, that is going to hurt them more. But going and buying Tottenham shirts and then going into the stadium where you're probably going to buy beer and drinks and food and all kinds of other things is not going to hurt them. It's going to make them look at you like you're a bunch of idiots. Because you're not hurting them. You're putting more money into their pockets and then going, here's some money, now get out of my football club. That's not going to work because they are milking your club dry. Sooner you realise that, the better. You know, things may actually start to change. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to Ange Postecoglou, it's not just him, it's not just the players, it's the board, it's what the board are milking this club dry. the club's decision making. They're not giving him the right tools. They're not giving him the right players. I highly doubt that Timo Werner and Radu Dragusin, just two names off the top of my head, are perfect fits for this Ange Postecoglou system. And I highly doubt that they did their research enough to actually realise that, because if they did do their research, they wouldn't have bought them. But Dragusin is terrible. Timo Werner is abysmal. And yet they still went, you know what, we'll get Werner on loan. Not once, by the way, but twice, because, you know, we want to save some money. We want to improve the squad, but, you know, we want to save money more. So we might as well bring in a player to show we've brought in a player. Werner fits the bill perfectly. And then we'll buy Dragusin because everybody seems to rate this guy. We haven't seen him play. We don't know how he plays. He clearly won't fit into this Postecoglou system, but everybody seems to like the guy and rate the guy and want the guy. So why don't we throw our hat into the ring and see what happens? Abysmal decision making. Not buying the right players. Not building a squad that is fit for Postecoglou and the way that he wants to play. Not even adapting 20 days in to a transfer window when you have an injury crisis going on. They've only brought in one player this January. One player still more than Liverpool, but one player nonetheless. A goalkeeper. And that goalkeeper has performed actually pretty well these past few weeks. Doesn't exactly seem the most confident on the ball, it seems. But he actually does seem to be a competent goalkeeper. And yesterday, he definitely kept Tottenham within that game in the first half. It could have been 5, 6, 7-0 to Everton in the first half if it wasn't for him. But Jesus Christ, the Tottenham board not going out and buying more and pulling their finger out more in this transfer window, despite the injury crisis that is going on at Spurs right now, is something that I'm even frustrated about, and I'm not even a Tottenham fan. Like, I'd be frustrated. I'm frustrated with my own club right now for not buying anybody, even though it's clear that we need to reinforce certain positions in our team. And yet I'm looking at Spurs and going, you have an injury crisis. You have more than anyone a need to jump into the transfer market and start buying. And yet they're not doing it. What more? What more can I say on all of that? Look, it is the board. It is the players. But you know what? Andrew's also got to take some accountability for himself as well. He has to adapt. He has to adapt, and he's not adapting to the situations that are going on at Spurs right now. And if he keeps on doing the same thing, the definition of insanity, like I said before and I say again, is doing the same things and expecting different results. And it's not happening right now. And Spurs are seemingly on the edge of a relegation battle. A relegation battle that I think they will stay up, because all you have to be is the fourth worst team in the division, and sometimes that works. But for Spurs that were anticipating European football this season, maybe progressing from last campaign in terms of them finishing fifth, into this regression, into this absolute pit that they are in right now, Antonio Conte, Jose Mourinho, Nuno Espirito Santo all got sacked for less. All got sacked for less than this. Being better than this. And yet, the injury crisis seems to be an excuse that people are hiding behind here when it comes to protecting this manager. It's baffling to me. He's not getting the best out of his players. He's not adapting to the situations that are currently going on at Spurs right now. And in my personal opinion, the writing is on the wall and he'll be gone. And Tottenham need to bring in a manager who is going to be better suited to the restrictions that Daniel Levy and the people in power at Spurs are putting on the club. Because he's not getting the best out of them. But you look at like Nuno Espirito Santo, a former Spurs manager who is currently high-flying right now with Forest, getting the best out of that squad that he has. Dare I say any more? If you want another example, look at Bournemouth with Andoni Iraola. Look at how amazing they're doing. Look at Marco Silva with Fulham. I can't put it any plainer, any simpler than that. It's not just on Postecoglou. Everybody at Spurs needs to take accountability. But of course, they're not going to leave. Daniel Levy, the people in power, are not going to be leaving anytime soon. And the one who's going to be facing a losing battle is this man right here. And because of that, He needs to walk away himself. He needs to leave. I've done a couple of videos on this by now, but it just needs to happen. So I don't know what I don't honestly know where Spurs go from here. I don't even know who the next manager would be, but they need to find someone who's going to get the best out of the squad that they have, try and reduce the injuries as much as possible, be adapting, flexible, and not only that, but fit in with the restrictions. Because right now, Postecoglou is a square peg in a round hole. He does not fit in with Spurs. He does not fit in with what they are trying to do. He does not fit in with the ownership and the overall seemingly philosophy of the club, or what the ideology of what the club is or what they're trying to be. It just does not fit right now, in my personal opinion. But those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of this current situation with Tottenham and Ange Postecoglou? Are Tottenham in a relegation battle? Will Spurs get rid of Postecoglou? Will he walk away of his own accord, or will they try and stick with him? Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. That will make for great interesting reading, I'm sure. Hit them all down below in the comment section. Would love to read them all from you. And don't just say yes or no. Elaborate. I want to know if you agree with me. I want to know if you don't agree with me. But I want you to illustrate and elaborate your points on what you are trying to make, please. I do like these kinds of debates. So that is my one plea to you people. Would love it. Would absolutely love it. Anyway, thanks for everybody for watching and listening. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you are new. Both as always, and forever be greatly appreciated. Thanks everyone for your continued or even brand new support. Very much appreciated to me and the channel. If you are brand new, welcome along to the journey and the adventure that we're on. If you are obviously a continued supporting member of this community, thank you all so much. Absolutely means the world to me on both accounts. So yeah, never be taken for granted. Always be appreciated from you guys. So thank you. You guys are awesome. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out, guys.